If you want a yummy, delicious tomato like this, I'm going to show you how to plant a plant like this, which you can purchase at any nursery or big box store. So why would you want to grow your own tomatoes? Well, first, they're delicious. You can do, of course, a million sorts of things with them. Heaven forbid you get too many, you can even freeze them or dry them. And when you buy a plant like this, I've had friends lament, oh, I spent $4 and I hardly got any tomatoes. But you know what? If you get 3 tomatoes, the plant pays for itself. I had several factors I considered when I picked this tomato. First, I thought about, do I want a determinate or an indeterminate tomato? What that means is how it will ripen. In a determinate tomato, all of the fruit will ripen at once. So if I wanted to make sauce and put it up, or maybe dry a lot of tomatoes to use in salads in the winter, I would have bought a determinate tomato. I like my tomatoes all summer long, so I buy indeterminate. This will give me fruit over a very long period of time, and when the yield is heavy, I can still maybe can or freeze or dehydrate some of it, but mostly I want to have tomatoes for my salads and other delicious meals. So when I walked up to all of the plants that were available, I looked at this one and I decided this was the one I wanted. It has a nice straight stem. The leaves are nice and healthy. There's no signs of disease or being poorly cared for. The plant comes out of the center of the pot, which makes it easier when I want to transplant it. And I was concerned about the roots. Notice how I loosen that and it should slide out now. It's got nice healthy roots, a tiny bit of root connections there in the bottom that I will show you how to loosen. So I brought my tomato home. I'm going to put it in a raised bed. I've picked a full sun location, and I'm going to pick, for my convenience, some spots where I already have emitters in my raised bed. I'm going to dig a hole for my tomato, and I'm going to show you how to prepare that plant before you leave it in the hole. So I dug a hole for my plant. You can see it here. And notice that this plant's going to be below the surface of the soil. That's because tomatoes have a really wonderful thing where they will grow roots along their stem. And I'm going to snap off these lower branches, put this plant in, and cover the stem with soil. This will result in a stronger plant. So now I've got my hole dug. My plant has had his small branches removed. And I'm going to pull the plant out. Remember, I had loosened it already. There was a little bit of evidence of root bound here, but really not much. So I'm just going to loosen those. If you leave them in a circle like that, they will grow forever in a circle like that. And I want my plant to really stretch out and reach into the ground and make a really strong set of roots to hold my plant and grow my tomatoes. I've got the plant in the ground now. And I think this branch is still a little too close to the ground. You don't want your tomato branches to drag on the ground because that leads to bacteria getting up onto the plant that can give it diseases. So now my plant is here. I've smoothed it and tamped it. I'm going to put my gloves on and make a well around it. So I'm just going to scoop up the soil I've got in the area. And what I'm doing is when I water my tomato, I want it to have a way to hold the water close to the plant and not just run all the way around my raised bed here. Make sure my emitter is within this well. Now I'm going to do a test watering and put a cage on. A really important thing to remember when you're watering your tomatoes throughout the summer is you always want to water at ground level. Don't splash them, don't overhead spray them. Try to keep your leaves from getting wet. Tomatoes don't like to have their leaves wet. It can lead to disease. So this is a tomato cage that I happen to have made. You can use a commercial cage. If you want to talk with people about tomato cages, set aside 3 or 4 hours because there are a lot of opinions. But you need something. The plant, if you don't have it, is going to be floppy. You're going to want to train the plant to come out of the cage so that you can harvest your fruit. And then real importantly, you're going to want to put a stake in there because despite your best laid plans, this plant's going to grow crooked and it's going to want to fall over. we'll have tomatoes in 8 weeks. One important thing to remember is your tomato plant's going to come with a tag. And today you know exactly what you bought because you chose that tomato so carefully. But you're not going to remember at the end of the season. And you're going to say, wow, I loved that tomato. It was really flavorful, or it grew really well at my house. So save the tag. Just put it next to your tomato. Thanks for watching our video on how to plant a tomato that you choose from a nursery. If you look in the description box below, we'll have some helpful information to read about planting tomatoes. And remember, you can ask the UC Master Gardeners almost any gardening question. Thank you.